welcome and welcome back everyone to another video. I am your host, The Radio CD, and I am really excited to be back again, and hopefully this video will be out on time today and I won't have to record and edit it the same day that I'm releasing it. So hopefully this one will be better than last week's. But today we are continuing our fall home building series. So this is going to be part 3. I have part 2 and part 1 linked down below. Last week we built this beautiful living room, which I did make some changes to. I will go over those when we actually jump into building. And then the week before that we built the structure and everything. So if you're trying to follow along, I'm gonna link all of those down below, and I should have carded them. So definitely go look at those or you're gonna be really confused, unless you just want to see how I'm going to do this kitchen today, because I did get a comment on my bathroom tips video that was like, can you make one for kitchens? And I was like, you know what? I can do that with this video, because we are doing the kitchen and the dining room today. So let's go ahead and jump right on into building. So like I said, I did change some things in the living room. Not too many things. It's essentially the same. I changed the table because I wasn't a huge fan of the table that we had originally. It was the wire table, kind of like this one, the metal spokes coffee table, and it was just a bit too samey. I didn't like the base, but I do like having the two different furniture pieces, and then they all sort of coincide with each other. And you'll notice me mixing a lot of different wood tones. I probably should have discussed this last week, but you're gonna see dark brown. This is fossil, I'm pretty sure, or a darker beige. This is beige. So you're gonna see a lot of different wood tones, and the floors are of course a warm sort of oak color. The best way to create a cohesive space is to look at wood undertones, which, if I remember, I'll put a picture here, but essentially you have cool and warm, and mixing woods really depends on your undertone, but we're not really here to discuss that. I don't want to go too much into this, and then this is a whole tangent of me talking about design, even though I could do that all day, but we're not going to do that. So other than that, the only other thing I added are,
English, mother, do you speak it?
Exposed hinges to these cabinets. So you're gonna see these little metal pieces on the corners. I just thought it added a bit of extra something to the cabinets to make them seem not so flat, and I also added them over here. So that's enough of talking about what we did last week. So now let's go ahead and jump into our kitchen. So if you'll notice, I'm on a different plot today because I wanted the sun to be shining directly into the room that we're gonna be doing today. So we pretty much have this 5x4 kitchen, a really big island, and we also have a dining room, which is not, it's not the biggest space, but it's gonna work for our purposes. So I did some touching up off camera. So I added the floors pretty much to the rest of the downstairs. And I also added these cabinets and appliances to kind of just give you a visualization of what we're going to do. It's not going to stay like this. We have a lot of work to do, but I did also come up with a color scheme, but I have a few ideas for the color scheme I want to go for. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first thing I like to start off with in the kitchen is of course a layout. So I would say I grabbed the cheapest cabinets, but I'm not putting this big block down as my base. I like to have something with a bit of detail, and then I kind of just figure out how I want this to look. In this case, I based it off of what was in the floor plan. The actual renderings show a different design where the sink and the stove are actually flipped, but I liked the idea of having the sink on this back wall looking out into the backyard, and then the island is pretty much just free prep space. Although my idea for the island could make it completely not functional as a place to cook. So we're gonna see if we end up doing that or not. But after figuring out the layout, which honestly is the most important part of the kitchen, you want to make something that is not too hard to maneuver around. So you want to have at least one, I won't say one, I'll say about 3/4 of a square between your island and the rest of your wall cabinets, and typically the same behind your bar stool. And we have a little bit more than that. I would suggest having at least a unit, maybe even a unit and a half. It just leaves you a lot more room. So now let's talk about the second biggest part of the kitchen, which would probably be your cabinets. So I wanted to start off with discussing all the cabinets that we have in this game. So right here we have, of course, our cheapest base cabinets. I would not recommend this as your main cabinet. It is good for filling in different corners and stuff, or if you wanted to do a completely custom face on this cabinet, like you wanted to do custom frames or like doors, then I would definitely recommend this one because it's the only one that is completely blank. But if you're not going to do that and you're just going to leave it, I would highly not recommend using this as your main kitchen cabinet. Now, right beside this, we have our shaker, which is probably my most used cabinet. It's really versatile. The only thing that I'll usually do is extend my handles kind of like this. It just adds a bit more of something to the cabinets because I usually like my handles to be a bit longer. Another thing that you'll see in many of my kitchens is that I really only use the drawers. I rarely use the cabinets. In a lot of high-end kitchens, you're gonna see more drawers because drawers are just more functional in general. I mean, we're talking about Bloxburg, so it's not like the biggest deal as far as functionality, but it also gives a more professional look in my opinion. But I would highly recommend these cabinets, and these are only $50 more than the base cabinet. And then right here at around $230, I think, is the stylish cabinet. I don't recommend this one. I never use it. It's very, very plain. Like there's literally no like outline of a door. So it doesn't really make sense why this handle is here. It's pretty much just the base cabinet with a handle. And you could just add a bar or something to this cabinet and get the exact same look for cheaper. So I don't know why anybody would use this counter. It's just very plain. If you're looking for a modern counter, I would suggest one of the more expensive ones, which we're gonna get to. And at $250 each, we have our rustic counters. I never use these, like literally never use these. I see a lot of YouTubers and builders use these in coastal homes, which does make sense. You're gonna see a lot of like beadboard and stuff in coastal homes, so it makes sense. I just don't really like these in general, especially these drawer fronts because they're not framed, they're just profiled, which means they have like a little beveled edge. I'm not really a fan of that if I'm being honest, but they're okay. I'm sure you can find a use for them, but they're also very traditional. So if you're doing something that's even transitional or leaning more towards the modern side of things, then these are not really going to work. And now we're getting into our more expensive cabinets. So these are $320 each, and these are the traditional. I'm sorry, this is the arched counter set. Again, I don't know the name because I never use these, okay? The biggest thing with me is this really exaggerated frame. This is called a raised panel frame, which essentially is just, you have your, I guess, cabinet's edge on the outside, and then you kind of have like a dip down until you get to your other like frame. I guess the actual cabinet would be a better example of this. We actually had these in my actual house before we ended up renovating our kitchen. I just don't like this frame in general. To me, it's kind of ugly, but there's places in real life that I do think this frame works, but I just never use these. So instead of me rambling on for even longer, we're just gonna kind of like rapid fire through these. So on the far left, we have, I think it's like elegant or stylish counter. There are literally no upper cabinets for this counter, so I'm like, why would you use these in the first place? It's all right. The actual handles aren't on any door. It's just on the cabinet. It's just a completely flat face. And they're also very expensive, so I would not recommend using those. And then we have the raised panel ones. Again, they're essentially the same as the arch, except their upper cabinets don't have that ugly arch in them. I would pick these over the arch ones any day because the arch in those upper cabinets is just atrocious. These are all right for more traditional sort of cases. Not a fan of the hardware, but I'm not a fan of much of the cabinet hardware in this game. And now for the Craftsman, I absolutely love this set. And that's actually the set that we're going to use in this house because this is featuring me talking. So I kind of already know what's going to be happening, but I really, really love this set. It is quite expensive. I think these are about $670 a piece for each cabinet, which is about 4 times as much as the shaker. So I would definitely take that into account when choosing what countertop you're going to use because that's a really big price difference, especially when you start building larger kitchens. Don't use at all. The only reason I would recommend these is, of course, if you're doing like a modern house, but also the upper cabinets, since they have no hardware, they're kind of versatile in the ways that you can use them, so you can add your own hardware if you wanted to. But that set is also very expensive, so I would take that into account. So if you wanted my full opinion, I would say my number one on most used is the shaker, but my actual most favorite is the Craftsman. So there we go. So let's cut to me actually building the kitchen instead of rambling on and on about nothing. So for our kitchen cabinets, I'm thinking I'm gonna go with the Craftsman set just because I like the extra detail that they have. And fortunately, we do have the budget to use these cabinets. And we don't actually have that many of them. If we're being completely honest, I don't have a ton of cabinets in this kitchen. And I've completely forgot to talk about the full height cabinets. But that is something I would take into consideration, is that the full height cabinets for the more expensive counter sets are very expensive. That fridge cabinet alone is almost $1,200. But as you know, money is no object over here, so.
Who had been saying that? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
I've kind of been saving up over the past few days because when I was doing the living room, I was like, oh no, that's not good. We're kind of running out of money. And I'm thinking beside our stove is where we do some open shelving. If this were real life, I would not do this because that's valuable closed cabinetry that could be put there. But for the game, I think it looks really good. And it allows us to use a custom decal to do a really nice statement backsplash. And I think right here, we'll do a closed cabinet. I was debating using one of these and maybe putting the microwave in it, but I kind of have an aversion to showing appliances like that. So I think we're gonna put that maybe in one of our lower cabinets or maybe inside of this cabinet. Another thing that I'm thinking of doing is adding a wall right here and kind of sectioning off this little area and sliding our doorway over. And I think I like that. Maybe I do want to push this back a little bit more if I can. Oh, we're already clipping. I may just have to, I can go back and fix that. Another thing you'll see a lot of people do is put a little like desk area over here for like kids to work, which I do like that concept, but I want to do like a coffee bar sort of situation here. So we're not going to do that this time. So I don't want to forget about appliances, but we're kind of just going to quickly gloss over them. So actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to come back to appliances because we can actually talk about those for a little bit longer than I originally thought. I forgot how many appliances we actually have in this game now. We have quite a few options. And honestly, we could do one of the stovetops by chance and then do like a wall oven over here, which I think would look nice. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. I wanted to add some custom counters to our cabinets. So I do not really like any of the textures that we have in game for countertops. I prefer to add my own decals, which in turn does kind of make them not functional for placing things on them. You can still cook on them, but I think it's worth it for the look. And if you want to place something on the counters, you can add like a serving tray, which I will typically do, or just like leave it for the dining room table or wherever else you're gonna put the food. So you're gonna notice, because we're gonna have so many decals in this kitchen is gonna look a mess or a lot worse before it starts looking better. And I probably should have done this before I paid for all those counters, but you know, we move. And a thing that you'll see me do in the majority, actually probably all my houses, is push the counters back just enough to hide that little lip on the back. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. A lot of real life houses do have that on the back of their countertop. I don't like it in real life houses either. So, and it's just a way cleaner look when you put it up against your backsplash. So the first thing I wanted to do is work on our sink. It is high key a little hard to see in here, so I hope y'all can see what I'm doing. So one thing I don't really like is using the in-game sinks. I've never really been a big fan of them, to be honest. So what I'll do a lot of the time is either use the commercial sink, or I'll go through the process of kind of mimicking one of the kitchen cabinets to make my own sink. Typically a sink that has an apron front, which means the actual sink is shown at the front of the cabinet. And if you can tell, I haven't done this in a while. I haven't done this since my beach house, so this could take me a hot minute to put together. Well, that took me way too long to make this little sink. I think that was like 20-25 minutes. It was worth it. It's cubes. It doesn't actually work right now. I'm about to fix that. Give me just a second. So the sink I placed under there, you should be able to interact with if you use like E if you're playing on your computer, or if you are playing on mobile, there's like a button that you can press to just click. It should work on mobile. I don't play on mobile, so I hope it works. But what we're gonna do is quickly change the material of our faucets. And then also we're gonna fix up our other textures if I can. And that's essentially it. The rest of the colors, I'm going to leave them alone for now until I kind of figure out the color scheme that I want to go for. I think what I want to go ahead and work on is our island, which I did not reconstruct correctly, but I'm about to deconstruct this whole thing anyways. So what I want to do is use one counter at the end. Actually, we're going to use two. And essentially, I just made one of these blocks is like kind of the same size as one of the island pieces. Now I'm going to shift this down to create a shelf. And then we're going to do some pillars on the corners to kind of make a little sort of butcher block sort of prep space, even though this is completely not functional. But this keeps, because I was going to do like a completely custom, again, my mouse is doing weird things. I was going to do a completely custom island, but that is like not going to be functional whatsoever. So I want to make something that you can at least partially use, and you can use the majority of this island to cook. So I essentially just changed the bottom piece to be flush with this cabinet piece here, and that's essentially it. I do want to add some additional detail to these pillars, and that is essentially it. And then for this side of the island, I think I'll reuse one of these pillars again. You know what? We're gonna do something a little bit different actually. I'm gonna get one of these cubes here and I'm gonna resize them, or it. You know what? I just thought of an even better idea. Because what I was trying to do, I'm trying to do a waterfall edge on this countertop. But I think what we'll do instead, we'll use a transparent cube this time, which is more expensive. But then I want to try to slide these as close as I can. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? Maybe if I make them, actually, that's probably the best idea. If I make it really, really small, then I can kind of slide them in together. Okay, this is just slightly off. But I don't think, okay, I just made that one too small. Okay, that's good. And those should be even. Actually, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna leave it alone. The countertops that I'm thinking are gonna be pretty dark, so we should be able to hide that. And now I'm gonna go back because I had to push these out again, and I'm gonna shove them back in the wall where they belong. You'll also have to slide your appliances back into the wall if you want the counter to kind of stretch to meet them. Is use the Pro Chef stove, which is the same quality and reliability as the commercial stove. I actually haven't used the commercial stove yet in a house. No particular reason why, it's just I haven't. I do like it though, because you know, it's kind of different where like it doesn't have a window, even though I'm planning on using a custom decal anyways. And also what I'll typically do is use a decal on top to do a custom cooktop. I think we're gonna go for this one. It is a little cheaper as a plus. And then for our fridge here, I'm gonna shove this back a little bit in the wall, make sure it's not clipping. Like all of this is clipping right here. Not nice. Ooh, I might just sneakily try to hide that bottom part. I made it a bit too wide. Unfortunately, so that's just gonna clip. Actually, you know what? I can solve that issue right now. That did not work as expected, but we can come back to that. That's a problem for a later day. So right here, all I'm doing is adding in our pot filler. I realize that like I'm not even talking over this clip at all. So I'm just gonna have to, you know, bring out voiceover me. But essentially, I'm just using the back wall as kind of like a guide for how I want my pot filler to look. This took me a little bit longer than I thought it would take, but it looks nice in the end. It's gonna take me about a minute to do this. Well, it took me about 5 minutes real time. So if you're trying to follow along, that's why I'm like trying to keep some of the sections in where like you might not exactly know how to make some of the items. So I'm trying to keep them in while also trying to keep the video short. I'm still in the midst of editing this. So I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do as far as the speed build portion for the latter part of this video, but we're going to see. I'm going to try to keep in as much as possible. I want to keep this under 45 minutes. We're at 35. So I doubt that's going to happen, but let's go ahead and get back to real time me. Okay, that took me, again, way too long, but that's okay. It at least looks fine. All I'm gonna do is recolor. For some reason, when you color the knob, it doesn't really end up the same color as the rest of the faucet or the actual spigot because you can't change the material. So you kind of just have to use the color wheel to match it as good as you can, which I think that's pretty decent. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and paint this wall. And now what I want to do, I want to use these paintings to add, but I don't want the tile texture to be stretched out across the entire wall. But around the door, I think I do want to try to get this texture running up and down this wall. So I went ahead and added those decals all the way around. Actually, I'm gonna need that block there to decorate our counters. So we do need to find a texture to use back there. And I also need to cover up what's going on behind these cabinets. As you can see, this is a very tedious process. Trying to get all of this done. I mean, it wouldn't be so tedious if I wasn't trying to do all this, you know, but y'all know how I move, so. So I went ahead and finished the countertops. Normally, I would just go ahead and start decorating now and then recolor everything at the very end. But for the sake of this video, I'm not going to do that because you guys are probably like, this looks really, really bad right now. And I would have to agree with you, and we are clipping. That's fine. It's not the end of the world. And I think this is good. I went ahead and adjusted everything. So I want to start talking about paint colors and materials. If you'll remember my mood board, I used a kitchen with sage green cabinets, black countertops, and they carried that same countertop all the way to the ceiling. In this kitchen, because of what I've kind of done with the tile and kind of just wrapped it around the whole space, I don't think I want to do that anymore. I do still want to try the sage green because I did like that idea. As far as taking that black countertop all the way around this wall, I just think it's going to be a bit too dark. Maybe we have to go back to the drawing board on if we should do all this tile all the way around here anyways. Jump out of build mode and go change some of these textures so we can kind of see what we have going on, because man drowning and the dominoes are just not conducive to visualization. So I am back after like 2 hours of going back and forth. The color scheme, we ended up settling on the original color scheme I thought of, so I don't know why I did all of that, but I did decide that the black was definitely too much to be carried up to the ceiling, so we kind of just did a little lip here. We have some of the countertop kind of carried up to the backsplash. We did the same thing over here where our coffee bar is going to be. I think I am going to adjust our shelves a little bit because they may be a bit too close together for what I want to put up there. I just did those. I'm not sure if they're even or not. I just hope so. But another thing that I want to add to these are some brackets. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably best if I just use a regular basic shape for this. That's what we're gonna do really quickly. And then under, we're just gonna add some brackets, kind of like this. Then what I do, I add a smaller basic shape to the back, and then I shift it down. Honestly, I probably should have looked at how much I'm adjusting this. We're gonna have 2 brackets kind of like that, and I'm gonna keep them in this sort of beige color. It's the same color that I used on the chairs in the living room, and that's fine. I mean, we could always go for just like the floating shelf look, which honestly I wouldn't mind, or we could just paint these the same material as the rest of the shelf. Okay, that was our solution. Honestly, for this little corner here, it's not that I hate it. It's not to say that I like it either. Just something about it just feels a bit off. What I'm tempted to do, just put a full height cabinet here. Kind of just gives it end to the kitchen where otherwise there wouldn't really be, I don't know, it just fills in the space. So we're just gonna leave it like that. I think I prefer that a lot more than the counter. And now what I wanna do is add in my custom decals for the fridge and the stove. So all you do is grab a double-sided decal. I don't recommend using the single-sided ones because they don't really have any dimension to them. We're just gonna do that for now. I'm gonna go run and get decals that I want to use so that we know exactly how to like size these, and I'll be right back. So I don't know if this is gonna be final, but I do want to try to use these white appliances I have in my inventory. So we're gonna try. We're gonna try. I don't know if we're gonna succeed, but I don't think they'll look bad in here, but there might be a better color. I do have a black version of these, which I've used recently, which is kind of why I'm avoiding using it again. So I like the fridge, but I don't really like what's going on the range over here. And before I go change these decals, I'm going to go ahead and add the decal that I want for the top of the stove. So I went through and changed the texture of all the cabinets as well to this wooden texture. I don't know, it's not that I don't like it. I think it's fine. I don't know how it's gonna clash with the rest of the materials that we're gonna have in here, so we're gonna have to see. But I really do like how this looks, the sage green paired with the sort of off-white walls. I wonder if we paint the trim around this window, kind of integrates the window more into the wall, which I actually don't mind that much. I do want to adjust this because my soap dispenser is in my windowsill. Honestly, I think I'm just gonna leave it at that and swear to you these were not like, I'm gonna fix that. Just a little heads up, I'm cutting parts of this video out that are not going to be in the final product. So I just did the double doors that are going to lead out to the outside. End up doing a different set for the final set of not double doors, the final door leading to the outside. So now I'm just going to do the bar stools. I just cut this really weird, so I'm going to just put this in here and act like nothing happened. Are slightly higher than Simplicity stool, which I don't know why that is. I'm not a huge fan of that, but that's okay. I think we can make these work anyways. In fact, I'm tempted to just bring in bar stools we have from outside and bring them in. Honestly, I think this is a good start, and we can kind of edit these to fit what I want. I was gonna try to do a transparent wicker texture on these, but we cannot make the transparent photos small enough to fit this little back piece, so I'm gonna make my own. Hopefully this doesn't turn out horribly. I haven't done this in a while. Now for the actual ton, we're gonna use wicker texture that we have. Honestly, I want to find a different color to use for these because I have a lot of brown going on over here. I think I'm gonna go for the light stone gray on the bar stools. No, we're not. I don't really like that either. Just have so much brown over here. I don't want them to blend in. I think this solid wood sort of beige color that we have will actually work pretty well. It could almost fit 4, but I think I'm just gonna do 3 so we can fit them with a reasonable amount of space between each one. I actually really like that. Honestly, I'm tempted to use the sort of parquet texture that we have, the wood tiles, instead to add a bit of variation because we're using a lot of the planks. So we're gonna use a different texture for that for now because I think I do like that. So I want to uncover the floors really quickly and see how that looks. I think that looks really good. We still have a few more things that we need to make, unless I can get away without making them. But I almost forgot, we do need some sort of light fixture over this island, which if we wanted to do something big like this, I suppose we could. No, we can't. Something like this could actually work pretty well. And then we'll do a a flint, our light text color. And then, okay. That's not bad. I think I would just rather have separate pendants for this instead of just one big light fixture. I went ahead and made kind of the base for the pendant. So we have a little transparent sphere and one of the box lights resized, and I just put it on a little block and turned it upside down. Now what I'm gonna do is Use this little block here to add the hook for my pendant. I think that's good actually. Maybe we could do something like this, kind of have it hanging like that possibly. I think this would be more interesting, but I'm also not sure if this is completely possible. I think we'll just do something like this. I'm just gonna have to adjust these myself. Okay, I'm not mad at that. They're all right. I think I'm gonna change because I wanted the texture to not be so, I guess, see-through, I suppose, so that you know something's there. I think that's really cute, actually. Okay, so I think that's what we're gonna do. And I'm gonna leave this rug here just because I'm pretty sure we're gonna need this to add some decorations to this countertop. Honestly, same thing for the rest of the countertops, but I may just come back and do that. I'll probably do a montage of that like I did last time. I want to go ahead and start on the dining room. So as far as the dining room goes, I want something that is pretty simple and minimal. Nothing too crazy, to be honest. Just a place where you can sit down. Because I really want the main focus to be the kitchen and not really what's going on over here. So I kind of just want it to be cohesive and also just, I guess, introduce you to the kitchen in a way that kind of like blends into the rest of the kitchen. When I started the dining room, we kind of went through a few different iterations, so I'm going to cut those out and we're going to go to the iteration where I do the dining room that is actually going to be in the house. The only thing I did was, well, no, I changed the entire set. We are going to make some wishbone chairs, which I'm going to go into like right now. And then we're just going to use some basic shapes to make a very simple table, which is really easy to make. So yeah, let's go do that. So here we are making those wishbone chairs that I just discussed. Essentially, I just used a transparent cube to kind of match the size of a regular chair. So I used the simplicity chair, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, to kind of guide how big I wanted the chair to be. And then I kind of just based it around that and built this chair. Am I gonna keep this whole thing in? We're kind of getting to that point where I'm like, this video is going to be way too long and I don't want to split this part up into 2 parts. So yeah, we're kind of just gonna cut to me going to like the end of me making this chair because I don't have a lot of time. So I'm gonna cut a little bit of this out. But as you can see, I'm using one of the cylinders to kind of mimic the curvature of the wishbone chair, and that's essentially the entire structure. Then you can kind of just base it off of that. And yeah, let's go ahead and get back into me making the rest of the dining room. So here we are on the speed build, like the really large speed build part of this video. Essentially, this is just me decorating. This is pretty much all that I'm going to be able to keep in. So like the next about 5 to 10 minutes are going to be me doing the decorating. It is currently 2:38 a.m. To say I'm tired would probably be an understatement. But I want to make sure that I get this video out today. So yeah, I'm trying to be on my grind just a little bit. So I cut out the rest of the dining room. Essentially I just added a rug and I added a runner to the kitchen. Which y'all know is kind of like common practice to me for any dining room or kitchen. So it's pretty simple to add. It's just a floor decal. And that's essentially it. You're gonna see me here. I think I cut out most of me decorating these shelves. I'm gonna have screenshots on my Instagram and my Twitter posted. And also we're gonna do like a final tour at the end. So I think honestly the best way to figure out how to decorate the shelves exactly like this, if you wanted to do that, would be just to look at the pictures. Because me doing this in kind of the speedy way is not really gonna help. I did speed this up ×6 because I'm really not trying to have this be a super long video. I was trying to keep it under 45 minutes, but we're gonna see. I might cut out even more of this decorating than I originally intended. So yeah, I don't y'all need to tell me like what's a good balance. Like, do you want to see the entire process or do you mind like just skipping ahead? Because I know some people like once it gets too boring you just click off, so I don't want you to do that either. But I kind of just need to find a happy medium, or I can make a second channel and post the entire like build over there, that's just a lot of work to go make a whole second channel for this. Honestly, that's probably not an option until we grow a little bit more. Maybe once we get to 10K or something, I can make a second channel to put all that fun stuff over there. But this should be enough to pretty much replicate exactly what I have. I've been trying to retain enough footage so that you can pretty much copy what I have if you needed to, or if you wanted to. But as you can see here, I'm just adding our final decoration to the island. I absolutely love how this kitchen turned out. And I say this every single time, okay? But we're gonna pretend that I've never said this before, but I really do like this kitchen. Honestly, this is probably, I don't want to say my, you know what? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say this is probably my favorite kitchen that I've ever done. I don't know if I said that correctly, but as you can see, I'm not in the right headspace right now. But I really, really love the colors and everything. I feel like it's autumn, but it's not, you know, overbearingly autumn, which would be, you know, the whole thing is orange and green and brown. We don't actually have too much in the way of orange at all. I was trying to find ways to incorporate orange, but I just couldn't find a way that didn't completely clash with the entire space. So we're just gonna stick with our little sage green and our off-whites and creams and such. I do have some sort of fall oriented decorations. Once the fall update actually comes around, I may go back in and kind of just do like a once over of the whole house and kind of fallify it up using the items that we get seasonally, because right now we don't have any of that, and in her inventory is like nothing as far as holiday decorations. So I think we will just have to go back and do that. I also resized the wooden piece on the end of the island to be a bit smaller because I wanted some more walkway space between my dining table and chairs and the island, and I think that was honestly a pretty good decision. You can also place things on that end piece, so if you wanted to, like, instead of doing the little serving tray with the cheesecake like I did, you could just leave it empty, and then that's where you could put your finished food when you're done cooking it. All the counters are functional for you to prep. I already tested that when I was making the cheesecake. So yeah, right here I'm trying to fill in this gap. Let me cut this out. You might be very confused about what I'm talking about because I'm about to cut this out actually, because we end up using an arched door, and it was a very tedious process of putting that in and making the paneling match and everything, but I ended up doing it in the end, and now we are adding our decorations to the dining table. I don't know how off I'm gonna be on this. We're gonna see. We are going to see. So I'm just kind of muddling along. I am going to cut right here. I have about 5 more minutes of footage, but we're gonna cut here and go ahead and, oh, no, we're not. No, we are not. I changed the door. Actually, you know what? We are gonna cut here. We're gonna cut right here. I'm gonna meet you guys in the tour. This is horrible, horribly unorganized. But I'm gonna meet you guys in the tour, and I'm gonna go over everything that I didn't show on camera. So I will see you guys at the house. Welcome to our brand new kitchen and dining room. So I wanted to start from the back instead of entering from the front this time because we have these beautiful doors. I was gonna say doors, but it's actually just one door, but we use these windows. It's kind of like side light portions to this door. And I really, really like how this turned out. It brings so much light into this dining room, which is kind of needed. And I also added this little sorry concrete pad out here because I didn't just want it to be grass. So this is not permanent. We're gonna do something more back here, but right now we're focused on our lovely kitchen and dining room, so let's go ahead and check it out. So right here is our 5-seater dining table. I'm actually surprised that I was able to seat 5 people around this table. It's not a huge dining room at all. It's only a 3x4, but surprisingly it was able to fit this table in a pretty nicely sized rug. We have our curtains over here. We have a nice little decal plant in the corner, as well as our lamp, which is plugged in. You cannot have a lamp without it being plugged in. I ended up changing the texture on top of the table to be a herringbone on top of the regular planks texture. Oh my gosh, y'all, it is 3:13 a.m. I cannot right now with talking, but I like the variation it adds as far as textures because we've kind of been reusing the same wood textures everywhere, so I'm trying to vary it up a little bit. And let's not forget about our lovely chandelier. It probably costs way too much for what it offers, but I really do like how simple it is and how it kind of just completes the space, and it coincides with our pendants in the kitchen. And speaking of the kitchen is really the star of the show, of this whole main living area in my opinion. So I added a runner right here to kind of guide you through the rest of the kitchen. We have our farmhouse sink, which is functional, and you may be washing your hands in the floor, but you know, I think this looks miles better than the in-game sinks that we have. Hopefully they do add some apron front sinks to like the cabinets. That would actually be a really cool update. We have some of our fall decor right here, and I really like this big window that's pretty much just asking you to look outside. So when we have some more things out there for you to look at, I think it's going to be really nice. And then over here is kind of our main prep space. So we have our open shelving, we have our custom range hood, and we have our range, which is also kind of custom here, but still completely functional. I cooked the cheesecake in here, so I tested to make sure everything was functional. And here's the arched door I was talking about. So I found this door in my inventory. I never had a chance to actually use it, and I wanted to use a decal door in here, so I was just gonna go for the standard like rectangular door, but I ended up seeing this one and I was like, what if we put this arched door in here? Because I think it's gonna look really good paired with our black countertops, and it looks absolutely fantastic in here. I ended up having to use these really tiny structurals to kind of mimic the same beadboard texture that we have here. It does look a little rough around this little edge here, so I'm gonna see if I can find a way to cover that up. But from afar, it looks completely fine, and I really like how it looks right there. And then over here is kind of our appliance wall. Ooh, hopefully the fridge doesn't disappear on us. And in here we have a microwave, a fryer, a toaster, and some books. And I think it's just nicer to keep all of your appliances sort of hidden away and just keep your main appliances on display, so that's what you kind of focus on. And it leaves you with more counter space and more space to put your decorations and such. And here's our wonderful fridge, so you can just click above it right here and you can open up your fridge. And I actually really like the white appliances. I was originally thinking to go for the black and gold appliances that I used in my 1940s bungalow and that really black dark kitchen, but I'm glad that I actually got the chance to use these. And I think it kind of brings the two sides together because we have our sort of white light countertop over here, and then we have our white appliances to kind of introduce you to the black countertop that's going around the outside. Over here we have a large painting, and in the center of this lovely kitchen is, I think honestly, the part of the kitchen that really makes it stand out amongst others is this beautiful island. I found this texture by going through the dashboard, the creator dashboard in Roblox. So if you go to create and then you go to your dashboard like you're gonna add a decal, you can actually just go to the store and then you can go to decals and just search up decals. The search system in Bloxburg is like not working right now, so I had to do that, but I ended up finding so many good textures that I was able to use. So I'm gonna try to include as many of them as I can in the description if I can remember. And we have our lovely custom bar stools with our rattan texture. I really love that texture in game and in real life. It just adds some sort of natural feel to the space in my opinion. And of course we have my signature cheesecake on the island because it would not be a build made by me without our signature cheesecake. It is not to be touched, by the way. It is strictly for decorative purposes only. And that essentially concludes everything that we've done today. Okay, not me being stinky. Anyways, I had to go quickly wash my hands for a few seconds because I was stinking up my brand new kitchen. That was not nice. But as I said before I was so rudely interrupted, that is essentially all that we've done today, and I really like how this kitchen turned out. Next episode, we should be finishing the downstairs, though I may have to split that into 2 parts depending on how long that takes. I'm gonna try to keep it to a minimum. I'm gonna try to plan out everything so that if I do another tutorial style video like this one, it'll be more easy to follow. But let me know how you guys feel about the whole tutorial style, or if you just want to see the finished product and not really too much of the building. I try not to cut too much out, so you should pretty much be able to replicate what I have, I would hope. But let me know down in the comments if you were able to replicate it or if it was really difficult so that I can try to make it easier next time. I don't really want to make like a whole new channel for this, like I said before, but I will consider it if I get enough people asking for it. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, and do all those fun YouTube things. And in episode 4, we will be doing the laundry room, our office, our bathroom, and the garage. So kind of just checking off the rest of the rooms on the first floor. And I'm really excited to get to do that. And hopefully we can keep our budget down. I want to spend like max 150 on the rest of this floor. So we're going to see how that goes. Again, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and do all those fun YouTube things. And I will see you all next week. Bye, everyone.